Hello everybody, my name is Aaron Stash with the Electric Home Show. We are streaming live one of our all-electric home tours today. Bear with us, this is the first time we've done it, so come on back. All right. All right, so we do have some folks with us, but if anybody on the screen wants to ask us any questions, let us know. We are ready for you. Come on in, everybody. Come on down. Watch your step, please. Watch your step. So our house here in Northbrook is LEED Platinum certified. We built the house in 2014. What does that mean? LEED is the Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. Platinum is, at the time, one of the highest ratings you can get. Basically, we are one of the most eco-friendly houses in Northbrook, Illinois. At the time, we were one of very few LEED Platinum houses in all of Illinois. Things about that not related to electrification are things like our bamboo flooring, which is a renewable resource. The paint at the time has no VOCs in it. All of our lights are LED systems. All of our water fixtures are low flow. As we go outside, you'll see native plantings. This was an infill lot. So there was a house on here. We're close to a train station. So we look at like transportation and all these different things that make the house more environmentally friendly and good for the neighborhood as well. So moved in 2014, have never had a gas furnace. So I'll direct you to the wall. This is one of our ductless mini split HVAC systems. So with this system, we have one in this room, which is our guest suite. We have another one on the opposite end as you were coming up the stairs in our primary suite. And then we have a ducted system that feeds our kids' rooms in the middle. So essentially we have 3 different zones of heating and cooling on this one level. These only use electricity. So we've never had a gas furnace in our house in Northbrook for 11 plus years. We've always had this. So what is this? This is a glorified air conditioner. So if you have central air at your house today, or even one in the window, that is a heat pump system. So it's cooling your house through transferring heat through thermodynamics. What's different about this system is it has a reversing valve in it. So one additional piece of equipment allows it not only to cool your house, but also to heat your house. So it goes in both directions, all again through electricity. These are cold climate heat pumps, so that's another concern in our area in Chicago is how well is this going to perform when it's 0 degrees outside. This is a cold climate unit and it runs to 100% down to -5 degrees. It'll continue to operate down to -13 degrees Fahrenheit, but it starts to lose its capacity. And so, okay, what about a polar vortex? I would say our house is actually warmer during a polar vortex than not because we tend to plug in maybe too many space heaters just because we're concerned about what's going to happen. It's always been fine. We've never had a power issue with blowing circuits or anything like that. But the 1 or 2 days a year where it might be -20 degrees outside, A, our house is super insulated, so we're keeping all of that energy in here. And B, we might need to plug in a space heater for once or twice. If you're building a new home or if you're renovating a home that already has a centrally ducted system, you can put that space heater, that electric resistance heater, directly into your furnace today, which will act as that backup supplementary heat. You can also do a hybrid system. So you can keep your gas furnace, but put your heat pump HVAC connected to that and run that heat pump as low as you want. And then when you do get polar vortex, use the furnace. So it's a backup, maybe more pragmatic system. Our house, and this space particularly, is floating above our back porch, which is open air, and our garage on this side. So this room in particular has more insulation in it than any other space, a lot of spray foam insulation because it's encapsulated here. Questions about heat pumps or HVAC from this point? I talk a lot, I talk fast, and I throw a lot of information at you. So hopefully, okay, all right. How are we doing on our stream? Still working, okay. All right, so we're gonna go to the laundry room. It might be a little tight in there. Essentially, so a little tight in here. I'll try to talk from the corner or peek around the corner as you walk by. So What we have here is a heat pump dryer. So we previously had a gas dryer that was about 15 years old that we brought from our old house. So we had a gas line run up, gas line run up to this room. We had a vent going out the back, just like you would a traditional dryer, whether it's gas or electric. What we did with this system is it's ventless. There is no longer a vent needed for this heat pump dryer. So we were able to close up the vent, close a penetration in our house to keep the air sealing and the envelope of the building tighter, because we don't want all of that energy to go outside, right? If you're running a traditional dryer today, all of that heat that you're heating into your clothes, the air is coming from your house, so it's sucking that in so that we can have that air, and then it's blowing out all of that energy out the back of your dryer. So that's why if you're using an electric dryer, I would highly recommend when it's time to replace that to go with the heat pump system, because it's going to use 300% less energy than your current electric dryer. And it has no vent. So if I don't have a vent, I also don't have to worry about a lint fire, right? If you're not cleaning out your lint trap, cleaning out that vent, that can be a fire hazard, whether you have an electric dryer or a gas dryer. The other thing with this system, if you like to clean lint filters, which I highly recommend you do, this actually has 2 different lint filters, because again, there's nowhere for it to blow outside, so we've got to capture all of that lint together. And you know, I've got my lint filter here. It has a small insert, so a 3rd lint filter that is in here. So if you like cleaning out lint filters, heat pump dryers are for you. And then it has an even finer mesh filter to put in. And you know, like any modern device, it likes to remind you when to clean those things and what to do with them. This is what I call an American size version. So it's a traditional 27-inch front loader. But heat pump dryers are not new. European brands from Miele and Bosch have been making heat pump dryers for over 20 years, just in a smaller compact size. Some new developments lately as well is you can now get compact units that are both washers and dryers. And because I don't have to vent that dryer, I have a lot more flexibility of where I can put that. So maybe you have a primary closet or you have a kitchen space that you want to put that in. Now you don't need to vent that into your house or out of your house, but what you do need is water. And what's unique about these heat pump dryers is it also has a drain. So just like your washing machine has a drain, my dryer also has a drain because it's a heat pump. So it's essentially dehumidifying our clothes. And so that moisture has to go somewhere. Well, that moisture goes through a condensation drain outside. Questions about heat pump dryers? One thing I hear or see often is how long does it take, right? I do 90% of all the laundry in our house. I work from home, so I'm here. I will say that since I changed from a gas dryer to a heat pump dryer, my laundry habits have not changed one bit. Does it take a little longer? It does take a little longer. Is it noticeable that I'm not able to do as much laundry as I used to be? Not at all. If anything, I'm actually more efficient because now I have an app from these devices that says, hey, you didn't take the laundry out of the washer, or you didn't take the laundry out of the dryer. So that's actually making me more efficient. We did go with 2 different systems because we are a family of 4, 2 teenagers who like to wear at least 3 hoodies every day. And so we have a lot of laundry that we're doing. So the single units that are washer and dryer, I think work great. But if you're 1 or 2 people, that might make sense for you. If you're a larger family, I would definitely go with a larger system. But you know, your laundry habits may vary. But yeah, the other thing I will say on the heat pump dryer is it is friendlier on your clothes because it's not blowing so much hot air into your clothes and shrinking your clothes or doing things like that. It's extracting the moisture out, so it's safer for a lot of different fabrics as well. Yeah?
We just got this model a
Yeah.
couple days ago. How long have you had it? Has it been reliable?
Yeah, so the question, they just got it a few days ago. We installed this, I don't know the exact date, but I want to say April of 2025. It has been extremely reliable, have not had any issues with it. You know, I do change that lint filter or clean out that lint filter every time. With the system. I've changed different settings. It has an AI wash and dry because there's AI in everything now. Why not put it in our washers and dryers? My son, washes clothes in activewear for all of his football gear. What's nice is that the washer or the dryer talk to each other. So if we put it in one setting on the washer, it knows what we just washed and says, oh, do you want to dry that on activewear setting? Because you just washed it in activewear. So, depending on how you do that, it will talk to each other. But yeah, no issues at all, knock on wood.
Looks like you've got a flat drying fan.
Yeah. So for delicates, we've actually had this for maybe 20 years. They don't actually sell it anymore, unfortunately. So if you're watching from Hamilton Beach, please make this system again. Because, not only is it a drying rack, but it also has a fan built into it. And, unfortunately, I don't think you can buy this exact model anymore, but highly love it. The other thing I'll say about the dryer as well is this is plugged into a 30 amp circuit. So we did have to run additional electrical capacity to this laundry room. Some of the systems will run on a traditional 20 amp, just plug it into the wall outlet. This one in particular did take a larger circuit. Cool. All right, let's go downstairs. Here we go. We started up because I think it's easier to go down. Yeah. Just as we're going, so these were the rooms that had that ducted unit, and then there's a very similar ductless unit in this primary suite. Okay. So let's go, we're going to go all the way into the basement right now as we go around the corner here. Here we go, excuse me. Come on down. Oh, I left my water upstairs. All right. Come on down to the basement as we let folks in here. Come on down. So some of the notes in here as we were talking about LEED and kind of how we built this house and the systems that we put into the house. So before we go into the utility room, because what electrification tour wouldn't be complete without a visit to the utility room, some notes about kind of the space that we're in here. So, the concrete throughout the house was included fly ash, which is a coal byproduct. So they're able to mix that in with your concrete, helps really sequester that carbon that would have otherwise gone to a landfill or somewhere else. Doesn't really change the structure of the concrete at all. It just kind of seals it in there. Behind us, a couple different upcycled components. So I did grow up in Central Illinois. My parents used to own a bowling alley. So if there's any bowlers around, that is an authentic AMF bowling sign with some inauthentic Christmas lights inside of it. But came off of Andy's Lanes in Henry, Illinois. The brick wall behind that is the old house that was here. So the house that was on this lot was a 2-bedroom 1950s brick ranch. We deconstructed that house at the time. And so by deconstructed, we were able to take apart the house piece by piece. We had Habitat for Humanity come and took windows and doors and appliances and cabinetry, anything that could be repurposed in the future. And then because it was a Chicago common brick house, a lot of brick here, they were able to pallet up 8 pallets worth of brick from this tiny little house that then go to be used in a future fireplace or, chimney that somebody needs to repair to match up the other Chicago common brick houses. We kept 1 pallet and we made a decorative wall in our basement out of that. And then the doors behind are 100-plus-year-old doors from a barn in Central Illinois. Those were the gift from my parents who said, hey, we heard you needed some barn doors. We just found this in Washburn, Illinois, and we got these doors. So, that was a surprise gift brought up here by the minivan. But what we'll do next, you'll see above me another mini split system, so an air source heat pump. This provides all the heating and cooling for this basement space. So each of these units here has a matching unit outside. So when we go around the corner, this is a 1-ton unit that serves all the heating and cooling load for this space. It is a basement, so it doesn't really ever need cooling load, but some heating load here. And then if we come on in, we'll try to cram in a bit. Do you want to come over here maybe? So lots of different stuff in here. Come on in, come on in. So I'll talk about the octopus in the room. This is our serve. This is our conditioning or energy recovery ventilator. So this acts as the lungs of our house. So it brings in fresh air through this duct. So it's coming over our head, bringing in fresh air as needed, and it expels stale air through the house. While it's doing that, it also is sensing what is the air in the house. So it measures the CO2 levels of our house, and it measures the VOCs or volatile chemical compounds in our house to know, based on the set point, just like I would set my thermostat, how clean do I want my air? And if I see, oh, you're having 20 people over for a home tour, your CO2 levels in your house are gonna rise. It's gonna be ventilating and bringing in more fresh air to get all that CO2 out, just like you would open a window. Well, why don't we just open a window? Well, I went to my allergist one time and she said I was born on the wrong planet. And I said, well, that's not helpful. What can I do about that? And she's like, well, don't open your windows, right? When all that pollen is coming in the spring and the fall. Make sure you're getting proper ventilation. Well, this is that proper ventilation, and it's also conditioning it. What does that mean? Well, let's say it's 95 degrees outside. I don't want to bring 95-degree air into my house, and so this is also a heat pump. That's the theme of the tour, is heat pump. It has a heat pump system in it that will take that from 90 degrees to 75 degrees, or whatever set point I put in there, so that the air that's circulating throughout the house isn't heating and or cooling the house different from the actual mini split systems. Also, it has filters connected to it. So it's filtering that air coming into the house, and it's also filtering that air that's being recirculated through the house. So I just changed the filter earlier this week. This is the outdoor air filter from July. I probably should have changed it sooner because we had all of those wildfires and things like that. And so I changed this filter, every few months in the summertime and in that kind of allergy season. In the wintertime, 3 or 4 months usually is okay. But it's also filtering indoor air. So that's the indoor air filter that we were doing. So again, we're changing that on a regular basis. Also has a carbon filter on the back, so it helps to kind of take some of the smells and things out of the air as well. So that's the lungs with a brain inside of it. This is the world's largest home heat pump water heater. This is an 80-gallon tank. From here down, it's a traditional electric water heater. So it has 2 electric elements inside of it, and the tank is back here. But up top is the heat pump. So this system allows this unit to be 390% efficient, which we actually verified and tested. How is it 390% efficient? Well, by using electricity and thermodynamics through the heat pump, the amount of energy I use for my electricity, I get more hot water out than it takes me to use electricity. So if it was just an electric water heater, it would be 100% efficient. Just like your toaster oven, it's 100% efficient. The energy I put in is what I get out. Because of this heat pump system, 390%. And right now it's not running. It's in heat pump only mode. The serve is a little louder because I can hear the fans going because of people in here. I have it set at 140 degrees. I don't have 140-degree water coming out of our taps. We have a thermostatic mixing valve attached to it. So essentially think about 2 glasses of water. If I have a really hot glass of water and a really cold glass of water, and I pour that cold water into the hot, it's gonna make the temperature change, right? So I'm gonna get a medium-sized water. That's what this mixing valve is doing. But not only am I getting the temperature that I want, I'm actually getting more water at that temperature. So while this is an 80-gallon tank of 140-degree temperature, I'm actually getting at least another 10% or 8 gallons more of 120-degree water because of that mixing valve. So that's recommended by Energy Star if you're putting in this type of system, but you can also put it in other systems as well for that mixing valve. For a few $100s more, pipe it into your system. Questions on ventilation or hot water? This system does run off another dedicated 2-pole breaker 30-amp switch. We did run additional electrical for this system. If you have an electric water heater today, this is exactly the same thing, right? So you could easily swap your all electric water heater for a heat pump water heater and save a lot of energy. You'll probably save money immediately. There are federal incentives for these through the end of December, where you can get money back up to $2,000 for installing something like this. But if you have a gas water heater where you don't have that circuit, there are also plug-in versions, not this model particular, but there are brands that have a traditional plug-in into your 120 outlet, and it basically runs most of the time in heat pump only mode. So because that heat pump is so efficient, I can just plug it into a regular wall. The only drawback with those units is it takes longer to recover. So if you're hosting a wedding party or something like that, and there's 6 showers going on, that may not be the best option for that day. If it's 1 or 2 people in a home or a small family and you're not using, that much, results may vary based on how you use hot water. But you can easily plug in a system to use that hot water, and it recharges like a battery does, over time. Behind you guys, you'll see the crazy electrical panels. So our electrician was a bit of an artist, did a lot of commercial work, if that's not clear. We have 200 amps of power in this house. So we moved in 2014 and we had 200 amps then. Since we've electrified, we've continued to have 200 amps of service. Is that enough? For us, it is. 3,200 square foot house, including the basement. And we don't need a 400 amp service. We don't need a 600 amp service for what we're doing. How do we know? Well, what you don't see behind this panel is there is an energy monitoring system. So it's called Emporia View. It's attached to the panel and to different circuits in the panel that helps us measure how much power we're using, what's the amperage, are we going over, what are our peak loads, things like that. We've never gotten close to our peak loads to be tripping breakers on here. In the time that we've been here. And since then, we've added a 50 amp circuit for our EV charger, a 50 amp circuit for our induction cooktop, and 2 30 amp circuits for our water heater and the induction or the heat pump dryer upstairs. So it is possible to electrify on 200 amp services. It's also possible to electrify on a 100 amp service. Depending on your usage and your family's use, there is a way to electrify your entire home with 100 amps of power. The white box you'll see there is the inverter system. That is for our solar panels. So we have 39 solar panels on the roof outside, which we'll see when we go out there. It is a 10 kilowatt system, but 10 kilowatts basically because of the inverter is capped at that. If we had a battery backup, which we don't have, we could get a little more power out of that because the battery would pull in that excess power. That's the one thing in our all-electric house that we don't have is a battery backup system. Questions about any of this stuff?
What's the upfront premium that one needs to pay for equipment such as this?
Yeah. So the water heaters, again, depending on, if I went to Menards today, which I think in our area is actually one of the few hardware stores that actually talks about heat pump water heaters at all. Like every Menards I've been in our area has a heat pump water heater display, so go Menards. Their Richmond brand is, I want to say $1,200 to $1,500 for the equipment before any rebate. And so that rebate includes not only the equipment, but the installation. So like I personally installed this myself with a friend of mine who knew what he was doing. He taught me how to do it as well. And so like installation cost for me was really low. An installer in our area, I always assume kind of 2 to 3 times what the equipment costs is hopefully what you're paying for installation. Again, results may vary with who your plumber is. Yeah, so a couple, $1,200 for this. What would a traditional electric version cost? $700 or $800 for that kind of Richmond brand, which is also Rheem, buying it from Menards. The LG system that's here is more expensive than that. So this unit itself was about $3,200. But again, it's an 80-gallon unit. It has probably more bells and whistles than I need for Illinois because it has the demand response system, which is required in California. So that's why they make it. It's not required in Illinois yet. So we bought the one for a couple $100 more that had that in case we get demand response in Illinois. I won't have to change my, not that they would make me change my water heater, but we're kind of prepared for that. It has some leak detection in there. So it's definitely a more premium model. It's also the quietest model on the market. So some concerns with heat pump water heaters is because there's a fan and a compressor in here, it's gonna sound like your refrigerator, right? So like we're hearing a fan here a little bit, probably not on the video, but that's just the fan pushing the air in. This isn't running at all, so it's not, you know, you don't hear anything. But when it does go, it's probably even quieter than what this fan is going right now. Some of the systems can be a little louder. So if you're putting it in a closet next to a kitchen or a bedroom or something like that, you might want to look into it. If you're putting it in a utility room, we're never going to notice. Another thing with this system is it acts like a mini dehumidifier in this space. So it will cool this room in both the summer and winter time because it's pulling, you know, it's an air source heat pump. So it has to get power from somewhere. It's getting that power from the air in this room. So you have to make sure that these units have enough air in them. I think it's like 900 cubic feet that is required for it to function properly. And if you don't have a big utility room like this, you can duct it into a space, like we could run a duct from here into the basement space if we wanted to pull that in. What you don't want to do is kind of stick it in a closet and close the door with no ventilation. It's not going to like that at all. And so you can get louvered doors that have the door itself, or you can run ductwork to do that. Some concerns about maybe making this room too cold. This will actually run down to 23 degrees Fahrenheit. So if it were 23 degrees Fahrenheit in this room, this heat pump would still work. However, if it were 23 degrees Fahrenheit in this room, there's something seriously wrong. The lowest I've seen it in this room is like 65 degrees. But again, we're in a mechanical room. I've got electrical equipment, which is actually generating heat there. If I had a furnace and that was running with gas, that's gonna heat this room. This is not a furnace, so it doesn't do that. But if you put this system next to a furnace, it'll actually take some of the energy from that furnace, not from your house, but like the off energy, like, oh, it's a little warm because it's a furnace. It'll use that for the room and kind of balance it out. I've seen some of these installed next to or near heat pump dryers. They would actually work really symbiotically together because the heat pump dryer will heat up the room a little bit, and this will cool down the room a little bit. And so if you set them next to each other, they're just going to feed off, you know, it's a continuous kind of recycled loop of energy in there. Yeah?
So you mentioned about electric heat pump water heater that you could just plug in. 'Cause, like,
Yeah.
right now we have like a gas tankless, and to do that, I mean, you could just put in this electric one and replace.
Yeah, yeah. So the question is, how do we replace a gas water heater with something like this, right? So there are tanked versions that from Rheem, from A.O. Smith, I think GE has one. The interesting thing with the new GE system, it actually has both. So it has I can plug it into a traditional outlet, 120, and then it has the ability to be wired to a larger circuit, 220 circuit. But how that works is, yeah, you just swap in the piping for your water like you would for any other water heater, and you plug it into the wall. It likes to have a 20 amp dedicated circuit, which is still just a single pole circuit, but I think they'll run on a 15 amp circuit as well. But again, with anything you're plugging in on that single pole, it's just gonna have a slower recovery time. And I say it like, so this is in heat pump only mode. There are modes for this system that will actually activate I call them burners, the elements, the heating elements in here. So again, if we hosted, you know, I don't know, prom or whatever, and everybody's over, I don't know, taking 7 showers, I could put this into like a hyper mode, and it will activate the heating elements to get us water faster. But heat pump only mode is where I would want to keep it the longest and the most, which is essentially what those 110 versions are doing, is mostly heat pump only. I think they have little elements in there. But yeah, that's essentially California is requiring you to go to a heat pump system in the future. And so those were designed for like the California market, but they're also available, you know, around the country. But yeah, great question.
So not that doesn't sound that complicated. Then.
No, I mean, the idea is that most of, and kind of the reason we do tours as well is most of the time this equipment, your water heater and your furnace, you don't think about, right? Nobody wakes up and is like, oh, I wonder how my furnace is doing today, right? Until you wake up and you take a nice cold shower because now you've got 50 gallons of water on your basement because your water heater failed. And you call somebody up and you say, I need a new water heater. How fast can you get here? Give me whatever you have on the truck. Well, that's not a good time to switch to a heat pump that might need new wiring, but I can easily swap out my old gas tanked water heater for a plug-in heat pump water heater. And now I'm not using fossil fuels anymore. I'm using electricity. I'm using the heat pump technology with that plug-in system. So that's, another reason that in an emergency, you don't really care or think about maybe what you're going to have for the next 10, 15 years. You just want hot water now, right? Same thing with the furnace system. Like if your furnace goes out or your air conditioner goes out, I just want what you have on the truck, right? Maybe, so think about in the future, how old is that equipment? What's the lifespan of that equipment? What am I going to do when I need to change it, right? It's our end of life planning for all of our appliances and things like that. What's my plan, right? Think, what am I going to do? Because I'm not saying do all of this at once. We moved in 2014 and we electrified in 2025. We didn't do it all at once. We kind of took steps there. So should we go upstairs? I mean, I love a utility room, but come on up. Is it still working? All right. Is anybody watching besides Sess?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Come on in. Oh, I see us going. I don't know where Mom is. Maybe she took people upstairs. All right. I hear something going on. Oh yeah, go ahead and sign up. We're doing a raffle for this induction, portable induction cooktop. So, one of the things that I look at with induction is it can be a big expense, right? To change out systems. And I think of all of these systems that we electrify, our cooking is our most emotional, right? It's a very emotional experience for cooks and for cooking and kind of gathering around the hearth. And for the last 100 years, we've been told that cooking with gas is the best thing that we can do, right? It's a 100-year-old marketing slogan, cooking with gas. And so changing to induction is a big step. And so what I recommend for folks who are thinking about induction is pick up a portable induction cooktop, right? This was $75 at IKEA. You can get them online for $60 to $100, depending on what you've got. This is how I convinced my wife to go to induction, right? We literally set it next to our gas range and said, try this out for the cooking and try the other thing and see what's different. And, it's amazing. Like it's super fast, it's super clean, and there's no emissions, right? Some of the highest end restaurants are now moving to all induction. So if you think that, professional chefs don't believe in induction, they're actually moving to induction cooktops. Alinea here in Chicago uses induction cooktops. French Laundry in San Francisco area uses induction cooktops. It's safer for the chefs. It's not as hot in the kitchens because I'm not burning a campfire for all the food that I'm cooking. I'm not emitting all of those emissions into our house when it's not on, because there's some studies out there that your old gas cooktop, even if you're not using it, could be emitting benzene and different things into your house. There are additional studies that if you have children in your house with a gas cooktop, those kids are more likely to get asthma and other respiratory issues with the introduction of fossil fuels and other things in your home. So if we come over here, the demonstration that folks like to show with the induction. So first of all, if you're familiar with electric, super easy to clean, right? I can wipe my hand across here. I don't know, Jen, you want to give this part of the tour? Sure. It's like I make crepes and pancakes and things like that, but I'm not the chef.
Sure, sorry, I was just giving another
Yeah, go for it.
So I'll just go ahead and turn this on now.
Here.
Sure, oh yeah. So this is a very easy touchscreen process. I would say the biggest learning curve of induction has been to figure out which number to put it on. On a gas stove, I was hesitant at first because I knew exactly where to put that dial to get the results I wanted. And I cook a lot, so I wanted to know what I was cooking on. So what we actually did, I don't know if you already mentioned this, we got the single induction burner. Did you mention what happened to it? Funny story, I put the single induction burner right next to our gas cooktop. And one day, and I was enjoying it and liking it, but I would cook, one pot on there and then some on here and compare. And yeah, one day the single induction burner caught on fire because the flame got too big and it was next to it. And that doesn't happen with the induction stove. So just another plus for this one. That was what convinced me, and then we immediately bought this. No, so if you do get this single burner, put it away from the gas. Yeah, it's super fast, so I just turned this pot of water on, and we'll see how long it takes to boil. I like that it has kind of 11 different settings on it. And you can hear it's already starting little bubbles.
Did you say it goes to 11?
It does. So if there are any Spinal Tap fans out there, like my husband, ours goes to 11. It's got a power boost that really works very quickly to boil things. And then it goes all the way down to a simmer. So if you just need to keep something warm, or you're making a roux or something, it's got a lot of different settings. Is very responsive, just like a gas stove. You just have to figure out what number to put it on. We did burn a few things our first week having it because it's so fast, and we just were figuring out those settings. So once we did that, I will never go back to gas. You already mentioned that it's easy to clean. It is also fast. I used to turn the pot on and then chop up my vegetables, and now I wait because it is too fast and I'm not ready for it. And then we do still have the hood because there are still, some VOCs, like if you're cooking bacon or something, and there's still steam. So we do use the hood for that. Our hood does go much higher, but right now it's just water. But there's no chemicals from those gas stoves coming out. And I mentioned earlier we had allergies and asthma going into this house, and we learned that gas stoves are emitting those chemicals even when you're not using it. And it's boiling. So if you wanted to, yeah, it's a big rolling boil now. I think that was maybe a couple minutes. And we've, it works fast on a big giant pot as well. If I'm cooking an omelet or something, I'll often put my butter right next to the pan. I basically use this as extra prep surface because even right now, I was just boiling this right next to the pan. It is not hot at all because it's completely through magnets that it is heating up the pan. So it's not heating up any other of the space. I can put things right next to it and use that space. I don't have to worry about burning myself. If you do take the pot off, obviously it is going to be, but actually it's not like burning me. I can still touch it. So it's much safer than a gas stove as well. Those are the main points of the induction burner. I will tell you, I will never go back to gas. I love the fact that I know that it's healthier. I love that it's faster, and I love that I can just wipe it clean. There have been some concerns I've heard about scratches because it's like a glass top. We've had this now for maybe 6 or 7, years, and there's like a few marks, but it's not any scratches. We do have stainless steel pans. You just have to make sure that your pan is magnetic, and so it will work with the magnets here. Cast iron works, stainless steel works. We have one pan from, not that I'm promoting anything, but Scan Pan. This one even still has the nonstick inside, but it still works with the magnets.
And there are even systems, so if you have older pans, I've actually seen little discs that you can put on there. So if you have I've had this pan for 50 years, it's my grandmother's or whatever, you can still put like a little disc that's basically the magnetic part that kind of turns it into an electric cooktop for that pan that you want to use as an option.
And then these pieces here can combine, so you can still use a griddle, or we have a Le Creuset grill pan, so you can do things like that as well. But yeah, so we didn't have to
If
go
Le
out and buy
Creuset wants
all
to
new.
like send us more stuff for that mention, like please, that'd be great.
But yeah, so you don't have to go buy all new pots and pans. We did have some Calphalon pans that were not magnetic, so we bought like 2 new pans.
Well,
But
now we're not getting anything
Really?
from Copland. Okay.
but they have some that are. Ours
Some
just
I
weren't at
Yeah.
the time. I think they were anodized or something. But yeah, so I really loved it. I did look up. There are some internet sites that have these are suggested settings for different things that you're cooking. And that helped as well. But
We
just
basically burned
experience.
everything the first week we had it because it was so fast, and like we're like, how do we do it? Or I did at least. Sorry. It's like, oh wait, this is really fast. Another thing with this unit is, so this is on a dedicated circuit. It's a 50 amp dual breaker for this system. There are systems now that actually have batteries built into the stove. So if you have like a push-in insert 30-inch range today, you can actually get an induction cooktop that has a battery built into it. So again, like that water heater earlier, you can plug that induction cooktop right into a traditional outlet and it's able to power that induction, right? I'm using more power here, but I don't have to upgrade my electricity. I don't have to change my service or anything like that. The units are more expensive, but you're not paying for the expense of the electrician, right? So it's kind of like the trade-offs there. With that battery system today, there are incentives on batteries. So the batteries actually has an incentive, at least through the end of December, for actually buying an induction cooktop with a battery in it. So it's kind of a unique system. There's so look up that or ask me afterwards about something there. You'll also see above us here, this is the air source heat pump for our first floor level. It is in our kitchen. I would say, in the future, were I to do this again, I would not put a mini split ductless unit in a kitchen, primarily because of the grease and the things from the food that is getting into the air, because it does have a filter inside there. So in addition to filtering from that range hood, because I'm moving air in here, I'm also pulling some of that into this unit. It operates just fine. We just need to clean it more often than we would if, let's say, it was in the living room across the way here. So works fine, no issues with the system itself, but where I would place it, if I knew 10 years ago what I know now, would not be in the kitchen over there. LEDs throughout, as we talked about a little bit. If your LED light bulbs are burning out quickly, there's probably a problem. These have been in our house for over 11 years and we've yet to change a bulb. Knock on wood as they all like fail at once as I'm saying that. But yeah, the LED systems, I think that's the first place to start. Other questions about induction or anything? We'll go outside before we head out.
Question,
Yeah.
just in general, about the rebates, so you mentioned like a 2,000, is that like 2,000 total per year, or is it for each?
Yeah, so the rebates are ending. The federal rebates are ending as of December. So there are rebates right now for a heat pump water heater, which is separate from a heat pump HVAC system. So you can combine those two things. Unfortunately, ComEd doesn't have a water heater rebate. If we were in the Ameren territory a little further south, they actually have an additional rebate for heat pump water heaters in the Ameren district for power. Sorry, it doesn't help us up here in Northern Illinois. But yeah, you can combine those. There are some other things from ComEd, like instant rebates for like an induction cooktop. I think you can get a $100 instant rebate for that. Or if you buy a heat pump dryer, you can get a $100 instant rebate for that. I just sent an email out to my list of like all the rebates that are available, but feel free to reach out if you've got questions. The other thing with our house that we have two different things. So we went through the ComEd home electrification program and actually got an incentive from ComEd to finish our projects. So it's mostly a new home construction project to go all electric on a new home, but they also have a retrofit renovation program. And then the last thing I'll say about ComEd is if you do have all electric heat or you're planning on going that way, ComEd has a separate distribution cost or delivery charge for all electric heating. And so you might be familiar with net metering, which is like money you get back for solar panels, or hourly pricing, where it's like cheaper to use power at night or at different times. That's all on the supply side. Or the hourly is the supply. When are you using that power? This electric heating rate is on the delivery side. So what is the infrastructure that brings me that power? Well, if you have all electric heat, you can actually get a 50% reduction in your per kilowatt cost for your power on the distribution side. What does that mean? Well, just in our last bill from July, August, like in the middle of the month, we saved $40 by having that delivery charge because of electric heat. Unfortunately, we've had all electric heat for 11 years, and I just found out about this program in March of this year. They did give us a couple months retro credit. I'm still waiting for the 10 years of extra electrical charges because we've never had not electric heat. We've always been all electric heat. So why wasn't our home in that program to begin with? I will say that very few people who I've talked with personally that work at ComEd, that present at the booths, which I think I met some of you guys at last week, they don't know this program exists. I was at a session with the Mitsubishi dealers who sell these systems that are all electric. They don't know this program exists. And I've talked to a realtor and builders who build all electric homes, and they didn't know the program exists. It is ComEd's best kept secret. So please tell your friends if they have all electric heat that they should call ComEd immediately. I think you guys were saying that they used to require somebody to come to your house and verify that you had all electric heat. Now they take your word for it, but they say, but we can show up anytime to verify, right? Trust but verify. But yeah, that's my soapbox on ComEd. We can go outside for folks who want to take a look out there.
Before we do that, did you mention what your company does as well?
Oh yeah, so because of all this and the science experiment that we've lived in for 10 years, I used to work in corporate sustainability. You want to get that? I used to work in corporate sustainability. I started the electric home company late last year to help people on a journey to electrification.
Hello.
Doesn't mean you need to do it all at once, but
Yes,
I help
come
people
on
build out a
in.
plan, right? What is the HVAC
no.
system that you could do? What are
You're fine.
the heat pump water heaters? Which one should I get?
I'm
Should I get a
Jenny
plug-in one or
Sash.
whatnot? I help build out that journey of here's where to start, here's where you should go. Because what I found over the last 10 years is that even folks who want to do it, one of the biggest hurdles you have is finding the contractor that will do it with you. And thankfully, I've found them over the years to be like, oh, you know what a heat pump is. You believe that it works in Chicago and you've installed it. Because again, with the heat pump water heater, I called a number of plumbers in my area to ask about heat pump water heaters. 80% of them said, you don't want to install that. You shouldn't put a heat pump water heater in. And I think a lot of the things with the contractors is they're similar to car dealerships, right? They carry a certain type of product. And so if I drive to the Ford dealership and I ask to buy a Chevy, the Ford dealership is not going to sell me a Chevy. They're going to want to sell me a Ford. Well, it's very similar for a contractor. Some contractors might deal with Carrier, some might deal with Lennox, some might deal with Trane. All great brands, all have heat pump systems, but they may just not deal with that or are used to it. And so it really is important to find that contractor who knows how the systems work, who knows how to calculate the loads for those systems so that you can have a comfortable house. I had one individual, he said, it took him 6 months to find a contractor who would help him put in a heat pump HVAC system. Like, normal people aren't gonna wait 6 months for a heat pump system. So that's kind of where we're at, but yeah. Other questions? We'll go outside if anybody wants to join that way, otherwise.
And if you didn't sign up for the free induction burner raffle, please do
Yeah.
so.
Grab a card. We're still on YouTube Live if you joined us late. That's why he's holding that. Come on out back. If it's not too wet, is it raining? I don't think so. All right. It's a little wet, but it's not raining currently. I'll just stand maybe here for now. If you want to go down there, sure, knock yourself out if you want to get wet. So the solar panels are there. We can look at them if you want to get wet, but trust me, I promise they're there. So just thinking about the lead components of this house, kind of what we did in 2014. So the entire structure is the fiber cement siding, so it lasts a lot longer. It has the color built into it, so I'm not repainting or replacing siding a lot. The deck that we're on is all Trex decking, so it's like a plastic recycled material. We do have a rain barrel, which we got through the village of Northbrook. We have the train next door, which is another reason to build a really tight house, because I have neighbors and friends who live 6 blocks away, and their houses are louder than mine because they live in old leaky houses. Our house, with the tight building envelope and the ceiling of the windows, we don't hear as much train noise there. Yeah, so other components here, native plantings. We have a garden, which I love. Oh, thank you so much. I like to say I love nature. Nature doesn't necessarily love me. But yeah, so we did install 39 solar panels. It's not raining if you guys are worried, but you're still welcome to stand there. 39 solar panels. It's a 10 kilowatt array. It's actually more than 10 kilowatts, but our inverters cap it at 10. If we had battery systems, we'd get a little more power there. The solar panels provide about 46% of our energy, which actually sounds kind of low. Well, 18% of the electricity that we use overall is for our cars. So we have 3 electric cars. We just got our 3rd one about a month ago. Our daughter's now old enough to drive, and she took the 11-year-old electric car because, you know, what 16-year-old doesn't have an 11-year-old electric car? And so we use 18% of our power just for that. But we don't go to the gas station. We don't get oil changes. Another 20 to 30% of that is our HVAC system. But we don't pay a gas bill anymore. So I'm not paying for a gas in the wintertime to heat my home. The most expensive gas bill we've ever had in our house was $40 for the entire year. $20 of that $40 was just the privilege to have the gas line in our house. So the customer charge, $20 a month. So by turning off gas, we are saving $240 a year just by not having it in our house. When we built the house in 2014, we actually had recommendations that said, well, if you don't put the gas line in at all, you won't have to pay the gas company to install that. We would have saved thousands of dollars by not even running a gas line to our house at the time. But we wanted to be cooking with gas and other things, so we still installed the gas line. But happy to say we broke up with the gas company this year. And the amount of money that we spend now on that heat pump water heater and the heat pump dryer, which were the 2 other things that weren't electrified, cost us about $12 a month. So we saved $20 by just not having gas, not to mention the other 20 of what we're using over time, and it's costing us $12 in electricity to run those 2 systems that replaced gas units for that. For the power, I haven't done it lately. I mean, it's definitely cheaper to operate because I don't have oil changes. So, you know, a couple oil changes a year that you would do on your car, depending on how many miles. All the emissions, you know, gas prices fluctuate, right? And I can charge my car overnight on the hourly pricing. So I'm paying a really low dollar amount for the power when it is charging. One of our cars has the, you know, lifetime supercharging, and so that I can charge for free with that car. But yeah, definitely the maintenance. I mean, they're the fastest cars I've ever driven as well. Like if you've never driven an electric car, like it's immediate torque, you know, so you just like, and not even the ones that are like, you know, crazy mode. So yeah, I think the only thing with the electric cars is the tire wear and tear is a little more because of the heavier vehicle. Haven't really had to change, like I'm not changing tires a crazy amount of times though, but that's probably the only maintenance thing that's more expensive on the electric. But yeah, no, it's a great question. Anybody else? I'll take you around, we'll look at the side of the heat pumps and then you're free to go. Or you could stay, hang out. So as I said, we have for every ductless unit inside, oh yeah, if you want to walk and take a look at the solar, you might just get a little wet in the feet, but that's up to you guys. Yeah, so there's 39 solar panels. When we moved into the house or when we built the house, we did not install solar panels immediately. So we moved in 2014. At the time, the incentives were kind of like a will they, won't they relationship. We did put conduit into the house that ran from the attic to our utility room, so that when we installed this in 2019, they already had the pipe to put the wire into. The house was also designed with a southern exposure and a nice flat roof to put as many solar panels as we could on there. Before the solar, the whole house is designed to be passive solar. So essentially we have a lot of big windows on the south side of our house, because we can actually help heat the house in the wintertime. When the sun gets lower, it hits all those windows. And when it's higher in the summer, the eaves help block that shade. I will say that over time we have put solar film on the outside of the bedrooms, because it was actually getting too warm in the winter. So in January, it was too hot and the furnace, the systems weren't running because it was a nice hot sunny day. And so we're opening a window because it's so hot. Well, we reduce some of that solar gain with the film on the biggest windows, basically in the bedrooms. Yeah, I don't think if there's anything else here. And then, not at all, not at all. I mean, the maintenance, if anything goes wrong, we do have an app that says like this panel is out or something like that. Knock on wood, it's never happened. There really isn't much you have to do. In some places, if it's dusty or things like that, you can have them cleaned. Basically when it rains, it cleans our solar panels for us as I get hit with a drop there. It's about 20 years as I think what it's guaranteed for. If you're gonna put solar on your roof, you definitely wanna have a newer roof. So if you need to replace your roof in 2 years, you probably don't wanna put solar panels on top of it, because you're gonna have to replace that roof, over that time. It will help protect this roof to a certain extent. So everything is sealed from the inside. So it's like sealed the cavities in the attic space. So you're kind of putting caulk or whatever is in there. But yeah, again, knock on wood, we have not had any issues. I don't recommend cutting down trees to put up solar. Like, solar is great. I think everybody should get it who can. I think it's the last thing you should put on your house, because it doesn't keep you warm at night or keep you cool. It's not going to reduce your energy use. It's going to offset your energy, and it's very expensive, right? So if you're going through the electrification journey, I would put solar at the very tip top, because at that point you'll also know how much energy do you use in the house. Might help you decide how many panels to put on your house, right? Net metering is great, get some money back from your utility, but your utility is not paying you a premium price for that net metering. You're actually more financially beneficial to use all of that power or to keep it in a battery from a financial perspective than to get the net metering. It's just a longer thing. Sorry, we're getting a little wet here, but no, great questions though. I'll take you guys over the corner before we get too wet. Sorry about the... Yeah, so the last thing here, what's that? Talk quickly. Why, is it dying?
No, it's raining.
Oh, my son's gonna melt. He can't film us anymore. So these are two of the external units. So we have these two units on this side of the house. We have very similar looking units on the other side. You can hear them, right? Not very loud, like it's still a compressor system in there. Compare this to a traditional box air conditioner, especially one that's 20 years old. This is a lot quieter. This is an 11-year-old system. So they're, even newer systems today. This unit is a 1-ton outdoor unit that feeds the basement, one that we saw over that doorway. This unit is a 20,000 BTU system that powers the room that we started in, the beige room, which is a 1-ton unit. And then it powers our kids' rooms, bedrooms 2 and 3, with a ducted system. So there's 2 systems inside for this one system outside. And then on the other side of the room, or the other side of the house, there's a 1-ton unit for our primary bedroom, and there's an 18,000 BTU unit for our kitchen. If you think about your traditional furnace, maybe in the Chicago area, you probably have a 60,000 or 120,000 BTU furnace. If I add all of these up, I have like 60,000 BTUs total. That's more than I need actually for my load. Chances are your HVAC system is oversized. Most systems in our area and in the country are oversized systems based on rules of thumb with, hey, we've been building it this way for this long and every 1,000 square feet is this big of a system. Yeah, we'll throw in a bigger system than what we really need. And what that leads to is you're not as comfortable because those systems ramp up really fast and then trail off over time, or maybe they're a little variable. This is a completely variable system. So it doesn't have to run at its capacity when it's not needed, but I want it to run as much as possible because this operates similar to your car, right? Your car is most efficient when you're driving on the highway. And so if I can keep this running at a steady rate, it's the most efficient it will run, and our house will also be the most comfortable because we'll have a steady temperature throughout the house versus these peaks and valleys. The other thing with these systems is they can be zoned, right? We have 3 different zones just on our second floor. So if for whatever reason we liked a really cool bedroom, we can put it down to 65 degrees at night if we wanted to, and our guests or our family could still be at 72 or 75. You can't do that with a traditional system unless you've got a lot of different systems, typically. But yeah, big fan. And then temperature, right? That's the biggest concern I think in our area is, will this work when it's -5 degrees outside? So this is an 11-year-old system. It's designed to work at 100% capacity at -5. And then it'll work down to -13 and a little bit beyond that. The newest models will even work lower than that because of the systems and refrigerants that they're using. So yeah, it definitely works in our climate. All over Scandinavia it works. I was in Canada this summer. They have nothing but heat pumps. Like colder climates than Illinois have heat pumps everywhere. We just have a really big gas infrastructure in our area. And so we plug it into the gas. People think about the grid. Is the grid going to be able to handle all of this electrification? Well, a lot of the electric homes today are electric resistance heating. So I have a baseboard heating. If I change just the electrical homes today to a heat pump, I'm going to save the grid energy by going to a heat pump. And then, do we need to update our electrical infrastructure? Yes. Do we need to update our gas infrastructure? Yes. What do you think's more expensive, running some power lines in the backyard or digging up my entire front yard in this area all the way down here to replace 70-year-old piping for our gas, right? It's going to cost millions of dollars to do electrical. It's going to cost tens to more millions of dollars to do gas infrastructure. So that's the reckoning that we're all going to be facing in our area to update this infrastructure. Where do we want to put our money? How much disruption, half of our sidewalks are torn up. They did a great job. The crew was very clean for what they were doing. But yeah, it's a lot harder to dig up stuff out of the ground than otherwise. All right, cool. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Happy to answer any questions, and I do this a lot, so